Welcome to Her Success Matters, a podcast exploring how advisors can work together to build a pathway for women to succeed in financial services. I am your host, Christine Shaw, Chief Executive Officer of Investment News. This podcast will give you rare insider access to the top financial services executives who are taking action to break down the barriers for the next generation of female advisors. You will also hear from some amazing and inspiring women who have forged their own pathway to success. Welcome to Her Success Matters. I'm excited to share this special episode where we're celebrating a major milestone for women in financial services. 30 years ago, a small group of female stockbrokers realized that our industry was severely lacking inclusion of women and women of color. So they took action and developed an association within RBC Wealth Management called the Women's Association of Financial Advisors. This group aims to support the recruitment and retention of women in financial advisor and branch leadership roles. To share the association's journey are two powerhouses at RBC Wealth Management, Kristen Kimmell, Head of Advisor Recruiting, and Maureen Kerrigan, Senior Vice President and Financial Advisor. Kristen and Maureen, I am so thrilled to have you join us today. Welcome to Her Success Matters.
Thanks you so much for having us. We're thrilled to be here.
Well, great. Let's get into it. So first and foremost, congratulations on this 30-year milestone. How does that make you feel?
Oh, I can't say enough. This is super exciting. It's absolutely incredible. And I love that we're celebrating our 30-year anniversary. And then it's not just a 1 year, a 2 year. This is something that has been at the core of who we are for the last 30 years. And I just want to shout it from the rooftops.
Well, I think this milestone is a true testament to the commitment RBC has to female advisors. I've had the opportunity to serve in various capacities on the board, so I've gotten to live and breathe and see how committed RBC is to the women of RBC.
Yeah, and to your point, 30 years, right? That's no small accomplishment. And we talk a lot about diversity, obviously, on this podcast and inclusion of women. And what's really important is that it's not a moment, but rather it's part of who we are and how we operate in the DNA. And it goes to show that your firm doesn't just doesn't just talk about it, but they actually put a plan in and have achieved success over a long period of time. So that's amazing to see that. Kristen, will you please tell our listeners a little bit about the background of how the Women's Association of Financial Advisors got started to begin with back in the 90s?
Yeah, I wasn't part of it then, but I love this story. It's a great story to share. And what I think is really incredible about it is the insight of the women who started this, right? So these were women who were advisors in branches and often the only female advisor in their branch. And they recognized that there was a piece that was missing, that there was a connectivity that they needed, that they craved, that they felt would really help them be more successful in their roles. And so they did something about it. They actually said, hey, look, we want to create this group. We want to create this network, and realizing and recognizing the benefits of kind of networking and connecting the women across the U.S. that were at the firm at that time, bringing them together so that they could share their stories, they could share their experiences, and they could share their success and kind of learn and grow from each other. So that was really the piece behind it. And then we've been able to watch it just flourish and grow over the last 30 years to become so much more than that.
So Maureen, if you think about 30 years and evolution and all that's changed, tell us about what's different today than perhaps back when it got started in the 90s.
So I wasn't there in the 90s, but I have been here close to 20 years. We have resources available to female FAs, whether you're new to RBC or new to the FA role, or considering stepping up from a support role into the financial advisor role. We've developed mentoring programs. Many years ago, it started with one-on-one. Let's say somebody in Sioux Falls wanted to learn a little bit more about fixed income trading. We'd match her with somebody in New York City who was a rock star in that space. We've now gone on to developing different mentoring groups. Our new AFAs that are just going into production, are kept in a circle and have an extra year of a mentor from the WAFA organization that helps them kind of tread down the new path that they're going. There's a lot of different things. Even our newsletter has become something that people can't wait to get for all the articles and the interviews and those kinds of things. We've come a long way. Back to mentoring, we even have mentoring circles for women who are considering branch management or considering other different roles. So we've really done a lot with mentoring and support throughout the country.
I love that you're talking about your mentoring program and that you actually had the wherewithal to put that in place, because what we've learned on this journey and speaking to so many amazing women, that having a mentor is so important, especially in an industry like financial services, where there might not be a lot of women in the industry, especially 30 years ago. So to have mentors to help you along the way is such an important part of the career path. So great for all of you in this association for putting that in place. So today, how many members does the Women's Association have?
We're over 300 members today and growing. We're growing every year. And that's what I think is incredibly exciting.
So what do you say drives that growth? That is exciting. 300 members is something to be proud of. What drives that growth?
I think a couple of things. So I do think, something that Maureen talked about, and I want to give her credit for her leadership during her leadership of the organization too, is helping develop more of these programs. So I think kind of expanding what the organization, what WAFA brought to the organization. So certainly it was the connectivity and the networking, but adding in that mentoring, and not just in individual, not just in a singular way, but in multiple ways. So they brought in mentoring for individuals who are early in their practice, individuals who have had a more seasoned career, but are looking to accelerate their growth or do something, or individuals who are looking to take more of a leadership or a field leadership standpoint, as Maureen mentioned. So I think expanding the offering has really been key to that, and bringing in even more components of practice management and business development, and just providing more visibility and more accessibility to the resources in the organization, I think drive that. And then I'm going to say it's just bringing more women into the financial services industry. We've got a great story to tell. It's a great opportunity for women, and we just need to make sure that more women are aware of that.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And I think the industry is really doing a great job at making an effort to pull more women into this industry and show them career paths and a way to success in this, which is very exciting, because we all know the benefits of having female advisors, and that the clientele has really changed drastically over the years. So that's fantastic. Is there any data that shows how the women's associations have increased the number of female advisors and leaders over the years?
I would say the data that supports it is really truly where that the constant bringing to the attention of what the needs are and what we need to do. So every time that we're at one of the events for WAFA, we're talking about how do we recruit more women into the industry. So it's providing that insight and the guidance and that partnership, and helping us kind of tackle some of the larger challenges that has really helped us drive the number of female advisors that we've been able to bring into the industry. And that hit kind of record high for us in the past year, as we look at whether it's people that are new to being a financial advisor or experienced female financial advisors coming to RBC. And I do think it's because of that partnership with WAFA, and them sharing with us what challenging us first and foremost, what we need to do, and sharing with us ideas on how we could do it better.
And we also have data on increase in actual production of the SAs that attend like the conferences or are part of WAFA. Many, probably, I know it was before Kristen's time, we had a challenge that was put out to us at a conference one year to drive production and to encourage women to just, get outside of their comfort zone a little bit more. And that started a period of time where they can track women that participate in WAFA, women that attend the conferences and whatnot, actually do see a growth in production. And that comes from the collaboration and partnership and sharing of ideas.
That is great. So the results speak for themselves. And we see this, Maureen, over and over again in research. And that type of collaboration networking is so critical. It's a critical part of the success and I'm not surprised that you have seen those results in production. So thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it. You also, when we were getting ready for the podcast, talked about some unique ways. Let's face it, the pandemic has had an adverse effect on women sometimes in this industry, and you have found some unique ways to keep those connections going through the pandemic. Do you want to share any of your fun tactics and tricks that have helped?
I'm happy to share these. I think it's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
I'll talk about them, and then I'll let Maureen share a little bit maybe what her experiences have been. But we recognized, right, that one of the important things that we've learned from our female financial advisors is that connectivity piece of it. And as we headed into the pandemic, a little bit of like, how do we maintain that when we can't be together? How can we, I think the motto is, how can we be alone together, right? Be safe, but find a way to be together. So we started out very early. I think it was one of the first kind of virtual broad events. We brought in an author, Tara Westover, and created an interview with her and shared her story with our female financial advisors and gave the opportunity to ask questions. And I think that was kind of the beginning, and the success we got from that really was the motivation to do more. And since then, we launched what we call our RBC Women's Wine Academy, which was a 4-part series that we did with Andrea Robinson, who is one of only a few female master sommeliers. And this was actually where female advisors could invite clients to participate. And she guides them through a wine tasting. And we've done a host of different types of wine, and she provides pairings and answers questions. And the event has been a huge success with the financial advisors and clients. I love after the event, the notes that we get of people sharing how that brought them closer with their clients and the impact that's had. So Maureen, I don't know if you want to share kind of your personal experiences on that or give any further insight that you've had.
Well, my clients certainly do love the wine events, but what we tried to do on our team was we are very client facing. We were used to entertaining clients. We were used to having events and whatnot, and that all changed. So we had to come up with something new. And early on, last March, when people were home with their children from school and everybody was deer in the headlights, we sent all our families that had young children packets of seeds, sunflower seeds, and something called a tennis ball, a tennis lettuce ball. So all during the summer, these children were sending us pictures of their flowers and their tennis ball as it grew. And then for 4th of July, we decided to do something else fun. We had personalized ice cream scoops made with our team brand on it, but I happen to like to make ice cream. So I sent it with 3 easy recipes for homemade ice cream for the summer, and clients just loved that as well.
I love it. I'm listening and I'm like, I want to go work with all of you, and wine and ice cream and sunflower seeds. Like, geez. But, I think you touched on an important thing about the loneliness and being in it together. And that's really become a thing in this pandemic. In fact, I was just on a call where I was talking to a colleague, and she was talking about that loneliness. So you have found some great creative, beneficial ways to keep people connected and together and to help. And that is incredibly important. And I think women do that well. So we're very empathetic. Empathetic is by nature. That is something I think we do better in general, or more aligned with our personalities. So I think that's a great thing that you're doing for your clients and as part of the association.
Thank you so much to our listeners for tuning in. We'd like to take a brief break to hear a message from our episode sponsor, RBC Wealth Management, on how the firm represents diversity, equity, and inclusion with its women advisors.
I am a veteran.
I am a grandmother.
I am a sister.
We are single moms.
We are athletes.
I am a former Beltway politician.
I am a former fashion designer.
A second-generation financial advisor.
Third-generation wealth advisor.
I am an immigrant.
A mentor.
A person of color.
We are allies.
We are leaders.
We are the women of RBC.
Thank you again to our episode sponsor, RBC Wealth Management, for that message. Now, back to the show.
And then let's just talk a little bit about some of the policies and programs that have helped advance female advisors through your program.
Yeah, I think this is great. This is one of the things that Maureen mentioned in the beginning is the active participation of our senior leadership with this organization. So one of the things that came out of one of the earlier meetings is our head of HR, Shireen Luz, was participating, and we talked about the challenges with maternity leave for female financial advisors who are commission-based employees. And that conversation was a catalyst for a big change, right? So I think that's what's really important about this. So that was a catalyst for a change for the paid leave for commission-based employees, which impacted our female financial advisors. And then as part of that too, it's really been that inspiration to have that broad view of some of the challenges that females experience in the workplace that might be different than their male counterparts, and launching benefits that are geared towards that. So one of the things that was pretty incredible is this program Milk Stork that is available to nursing moms that allows them that ability to continue to travel while they're nursing, and that ability to provide them the supplies and that they need to continue nursing, and the temperature controlled and shipping it back to home. And I give huge kudos to Shireen Luz to getting up in front of, the entire organization and being able to talk about breast milk on stage, right? And I think that's fabulous. And it really talks about that, as well as not only about leave for children, it's leave for other family members who need care, and implementing paid leave, a paid caregiver leave program, whether it's for another member of your family or your parents or elder members of your family, or a child who might have a disability, not necessarily just the birth of a child, and also the adoption of a child. So I think these conversations and that openness to talking about these challenges has really been an inspiration to make a catalyst for the changes that we needed to some of these benefits.
I love this conversation, and this is a perfect example about putting things in action. So first of all, we know that a lot of women have had to leave the workforce because they are the primary caregivers in multiple situations. So more women have become unemployed through this pandemic. And having policies, in fact, just today in our HR, we were talking about maternity leave policies, and we know that we get women to join the industry, but then they leave midway because of these challenges and lack of policies that support this. I think some of these topics would be great for some of our women advisors too, so we could follow up about some suggestions on that. But yeah, to your point, like, who's talking about breast milk? But that's a real thing. If you have a child and you have to be able to do that, and you want to travel and run your job, those options are important. And I think that we don't think about those things, and seeing that not only have you thought about those things, you talk about those things, and you put programs and policies in place. So that's a great example. I also, just to share with you, I have a really close personal friend who on December 22nd found out her 10-year-old son has brain cancer, terminal brain cancer. She has 4 children. And can you imagine? So she works, and it's like, there's probably, to your point about caregivers, right? And sometimes we have to take care of our elderly parents. So there's all kinds of ways we can apply, but it starts at having those internal conversations with HR and being willing to make policy changes that support this. So that's just incredible. And thank you for sharing that. Anything else you want to add to that?
Well, you gave me goosebumps sharing the story. My heart goes out to women like your personal friend, because without programs like this in place, without benefits like this in place, the options become limited. And to your point, then the answer becomes stepping away from your career, either taking a step back so I don't travel, or stepping out so I can attend doctor's appointments and things along that line. And I am so proud to be part of RBC where we recognize those, and we are willing to put in place the benefits that allow women to maintain and continue to grow in their career when they have other things that are going on in their lives.
Absolutely. And so that brings me to one of my final questions is, women, and particularly women and people of color, are still so underrepresented in our industry, despite all the progress we're making. So tell us about some of the new recruiting programs to go along with your policies that you put in place to ensure diverse talent also is coming in.
One of Kristen's brainchilds was something called Second Acts and New Beginnings, where the firm was reaching out to women who might have been a teacher or in some other career path and maybe sidestep their career to be home for a bit with their children, and let them know that, there is a path to becoming a financial advisor at RBC. That, I think, is what kickstarted Kristen's incredible recruiting efforts that she's been championing for the last few years. I happened to be a second act and new beginning long before this program came. This was a career change for me in my early 40s. I've chosen to stay at RBC because of the support they give me, from the quality of the people I work with, the access to research, on and on and on. But to answer your question, Second Acts and New Beginnings has been a tremendous resource for new women coming to the firm for us.
I love that. I mean, we have covered everything from wine to sunflower seeds, ice cream, breast milk, first acts, second acts, caregivers. It's no wonder that you two are both powerhouses in that RBC Wealth Management is such an amazing place for women to work. And I think this is a call to the industry, right? So what this podcast is all about is not just learning about the challenges, but actually learning policies and actions you can put in place. So for all the listeners out there, you should be working with your management team and your HR to ask yourselves, do you have the policies in place to support diversity, to support women, and to make it so that women not only can come into the workforce, but that they can stay in the workforce regardless of what circumstances life throws their way. What an amazing example of a company that gets it and stands behind it and does it. And I'll tell you what, if I ever have a second act, I'm coming to work for you ladies because it sounds fabulous.
We would love to have you. Love to have you.
Okay. Well, there you go. You heard it here first. So then I would love for each of you to answer my final question that I ask all my guests in your own words. And so Maureen, we'll start with you. And then Kristen, you can answer it secondly. In your own words, why do you believe her success matters?
As the mother of daughters, and the daughter of parents who told me I could be whatever I wanted to be, I think that it's important for women to have sound financial advice and sound resources to reach out to. Life is not always what we plan it to be, so we have to be ready for different challenges, whether it's divorce or being widowed or whatever. And her success does matter, because women always need to be able to stand on their own 2 feet, no matter where they are in life.
Excellent.
Wow, Maureen, that's a tough act to follow. But I echo what Maureen says. I have 2 daughters too. And I think, one of the things that I've seen at various stages of my career is an organization is more successful when you have diverse perspectives at the table, right? We need to make sure that we're looking through a wide lens and being able to see that women might have different needs to support their growth in their careers. So I think that her success matters, because when she's successful, we are all more successful, and it makes us a better society, and it makes our organizations more profitable, and it generates more success. I believe that at my core.
I do too. I couldn't agree more. And that's what this program is about. So please tell our listeners, how can they follow you in case they also want to become a client or have a second act or join your wine academy? Where do we find you? Fantastic ladies.
Well, you can find me on LinkedIn. I am not the social media guru that some of the younger generation is, but that's where you can find me. And you can always find us on the RBC website.
I'm on LinkedIn. Feel free to, reach out, follow me, or message me on LinkedIn. I made a lot of great connections, and we've got a lot of great ideas that have come from connecting with people on LinkedIn. So I think that's the best way overall.
Well, thank you. So I will end this conversation where I started, which is congratulations and kudos to your firm for doing an amazing job in the 30-year anniversary of the WAFA program, and keep doing what you're doing. This is fantastic work that you're doing, and the success speaks for itself.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, I couldn't be more. And I just want to say one thing is I feel so very fortunate, because for me, it's the women like Maureen and the women financial advisors that we have that inspire me every day. They inspire me to do better, to be better. And that's what I just love about what I do.
It's awesome. A great team.
It sounds like it. Well done. Thank you both for this conversation. Have an amazing day.
You as well. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Her Success Matters. Click the subscribe button below to be notified when new episodes become available, and share this podcast with others that believe her success matters.
The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Investment News. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified financial service providers with any questions you may have regarding your investment planning.